Okay, this is going to be a video about applying Monte Carlo simulation to the sweep and trap and other analysis. Now, suppose you can say that debt is like a real option, and options can be evaluated by Monte Carlo simulation. Monte Carlo simulation is almost useless for evaluating so many other things, but if we sometimes, in this case, if we have a sweep versus no sweep, we can see the effect of the sweep because it is affected by, the uh, variation in cash flows. Now, in order to do this, I've added something, but I'm going to show you what I did. I added a mean reversion. So let's review the uh, uh, the Monte Carlo simulation formula, or the time series formula. That's the hard one. By the way, I think buying these when the Harvard Business School forces you to buy this crystal ball or what is it called, at risk. What a crime! What a complete crime! They use it so badly, and then people go to their business and think that this is going to be useful. What a bunch of shit. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry to get that emotional about it. But if we just have a regular Monte Carlo, we'd say, okay, let's take the prior one plus the prior price times the volatility times a NORM SINV, and we put random number. Okay? And that's the formula. You really have to buy at risk or crystal ball for that? You better understand what in the heck it's doing, but to buy it, what a ridiculous thing. Okay, and what did I do? Great. I see. Ah, shit. Can't undo this. Sorry about that. Okay. Shift Control R. Screwed up on this one. Okay. So that's what we did. Now, if you want to add a mean reversion to this, which is really important, but basically ununderstood and unapplied and extremely difficult to evaluate, we could take the prior number uh, minus the mean number, which I put here, times the mean reversion factor. And I always get it kind of wrong. Ah, shit. Sorry about that. Okay. Uh, Hang on. What did I do? Of course I. Ah, shit. Let's just do the whole thing again. This one plus. Now, if the revenues go up, these are higher, then we have to take this one. So let's say we had a 150 revenue or something. We would take the mean minus this one. I always get that backwards. If you get it backwards, it's going to be screwed up. F4 plus, let's take the volatility, F4 times the last period price times random number, NORM SINV RAND. You can moan about some kind of normal distribution, which is about the least important thing of anything. Okay, so now if we put a zero, uh, zero, okay, zero, you can see that there's a much more volatility that we can kind of go up and down. Maybe I should vary it by 10. Okay, okay, so that's if we have no mean reversion, what happens is when we uh, calculate the sheet, we have this gradual, this random kind of walk pattern. If we put the if we put the mean reversion in, then when we do this, we get this. And you know what I should have done, excuse me, on this one. I I didn't want to do this against the fall in revenue scenario. I wanted I wanted to do this. Excuse me, this had a decline. I suppose we could have done it like that, but so then when we put 100% mean reversion, we have a very different scenario than if we have a zero mean reversion. You can see that they're just going gradually up or gradually down, okay? And then we copy this, okay? And when we copy this, we go all the way down. Okay. Ah, I just kind of put it over it so we can see kind of what happens. These are just different scenarios. And then what we're going to do is look at these different scenarios and look at the different scenarios when you have a cash flow sweep or a 100% cash flow sweep versus a zero cash flow sweep. Now in this case it just changed, okay, and uh, we could get really fancy and just take the same revenues with and without a cash flow sweep. But if we do enough scenarios, okay, let's get the probability of default. Let's get default, and the default is we just we'll put a SUMIF or COUNTIF, and we'll go to the balance of the defaulted debt. That's why it's so, if you're doing this kind of thing, and we'll put is greater than 0, and in fact 0.1, just in case there's some kind of so we have two defaults here, and we can whenever the default is greater than 0, then we have no defaults, 3 defaults. Whenever default is greater than 0, we have a default. And if it's not greater than 0, we have 0 defaults. And then we can put loss. Now the loss is much more interesting. The loss, we just go simply to our default schedule, and we go to the closing balance at the very end. Okay, and then we can do the same thing. Now this time we have no sweep, and we have, I thought we had a couple of defaults. Oh, there we have, but we have no loss on defaults. Now let's put the mean reversion down to less. We have more defaults now because we have more volatile cash flow. Here's one. We had one default there. We had no defaults. And maybe we should put the volatility up, and we can put the cash flow down a little bit. And then we have a default. no default, no default, no default. And what we're going to do is just look at this, and then we look at the same thing if we have 100% cash flow sweep. We recalculate them all, okay, and we can see if it actually makes any difference, okay? And we could try it with different mean reversion parameters and other things. Now, if we do this, we're going to have to make a whole bunch of simulations. That's what Monte Carlo simulation is all about. So to make a Monte Carlo simulation, I'm going to make a simulate sheet. Okay, and all we do is make a little macro. And in our macro, we're going to take this let's put um, we'll name these ranges because we're going to use them in a macro. Shift Control F3, and then we'll in this simulate sheet we're going to put this now. I'm going to save this because it looked like it was just okay. Okay, and then we're going to just count the number of defaults with a covenant and without a covenant. Now we'll put it in the simulate sheet. So let's make a macro. How about we'll just record a macro? And let's just stop recording it. Now in this macro, how about we'll look at this simulate, and let's edit this macro, and all we do is go for I equal 1 to have an input box and put number of simulations. Okay, and then we say not for, and then we say, and I suppose, it might be good. Can I put this there? This was called default, and this was called loss, okay? And then we can put sheets, and we put simulate. I hope that dot cells, and we put row. How about we put I plus 5, comma 4. That's going to be in column 4 equal range, and we put and then we can count the defaults, and then we put range. We don't have to. Let's just in the next one put next column, put instead of default, we'll put loss, and then we put next I, and then we're finished, I think. Now I would like to delete what we had before. I suppose I'm going to cheat. Let's minimize this, and let's go from sheet 8. So hang on, just a minute. How about 4? So we're going to make a little macro 2, go to column 4, shift control down, and just delete. Just delete everything we used to have. And then in, what did I say? It was 4 and 5. 4 was the default, and this was the loss. And, you know, here, why don't we do something really stupid? Put equal average, and click this average of this one, and okay, and how about we'll put if error. Ah, okay, and what we'll do, and all this is doing, sorry about wasting the time here. This took longer than making the macro. We can then put the averages up here and not have a circular reference. Oh, I was wrong. Okay, so how about we... Okay. And this is not uh, uh, probability of default, average loss. Okay. And this isn't really the average. This should have been COUNTIF. And we put the default and put greater than 0. And up here, how about in column, this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In column 7, let's put the number of things. So the first thing we do is put, so we can rows. How about sheets? Simulate. Now, I'm not sure if we have to do this. And what did I say? Let's put, I guess we'll put it as I. Just a second. Cells, what did we say? 7, comma, oops. 5, 5, comma 7 equal I. Okay. And okay, and we could put a simulate tab in this one. Okay. Okay, and oops, what did I do? Sheets, SIMUL. Okay, simu. Okay. Sheets. Simulate sheets. Oh, great. Oh, fuck. Okay. I don't know if you need that. Of course, we do have to do it here. Okay. Let's just do one simulation. We did one, and that's okay. We have the number here. Maybe we should put it in the next column. Okay. Let's do 3. We have 0 loss and 0 things. And the probability of default is this divided by this. And we better put a if this is positive. Then we'll do that. Okay, and then the average loss, well, that'll depend on the scenario, but we really should take that as a percentage of the debt. And we could get fancy and see how much the credit spread should be reduced if we make a simulation. Okay, so let's copy this to the over here, and we'll make a simulation. Okay, and let's make a simulation of maybe 100 scenarios. And there we got it. And this simulation is is for the you know, what I'm saying now is, what I'm realizing now is, first of all, this probability should be why didn't that work? Count if it's greater than 0. Okay, ooh, 45% chance of default. And then what we want to do is essentially get this same number and put it in another column. Now, I think what would have been a better idea is to not delete everything first, and we'll put the clear simulation in an entirely different one. So, no. I think. Just a minute, I've got to pause it and think about this for a second, just how we'll put it in different sheets. Just a minute. Okay, I'm back, and we'll put sheet name. So we'll put each of these names in a different sheet, and we'll put input box. And enter the sheet name. Okay, now we'll put sheets dot add. Okay, and then we'll put active sheet dot name equals sheet name. Now the only problem is we could have an error go to existing EXS in sheet. Okay. Where does it say go? Okay, now okay, and I never quite know whether to, sorry about this, whether to put these colons in there. And go to continue. Okay. Now, if it's an existing sheet, we'll put sheets and then sheet name dot select cells select. Okay, and then selection dot clear. Okay. And then what we do is put the titles here, and then we ask for how many simulations. And whenever we do this, we have to put sheet name and then we put the number of simulations we did. And then what I did is just went in and made a macro and pressed the F2, and that did this countif and all this stuff. Okay, and let's see. Let's put. Let's try this. Right now we have 100% sweep, so 100 cache sweep. We make that thing. And let's just put 10 simulation. And I think that's okay. This is probability of default. And then the average. Okay, and let's stop this. Now, okay. Oh, shoot. Okay, and this is G2. Okay, and so now let's leave this. What's going on here? Let me see. It puts it's in the one before. We'll say we name it the same thing. What should do is that we get an error. We put 10. And it worked. For once, something worked the first time. First in history. First in damn history. So now, let's try this. Oh, except it made an extra sheet. Uh, um, now, what we should do, we should first okay, application. This is really dangerous for me. Application dot screen alerts, display alerts, and then we'll put active dot delete. Okay. Okay. Okay, it deleted sheet 4, and then, okay, and this one had no. Okay, and Okay, so now this has got 100%, so we put cache sweep, but this time let's put 1,000, and then um, after after we do this, we should put on the bottom there where it says ready the number of the simulations, but that's not so bad. Okay, so we've got an average default of 453 and a probability default of 0.457. Now if we, oops, no sweep. Now I've got to change this. We already have, you can see it's going to have a pretty big defect. Okay, so but I didn't put no sweep, so that was bullshit, what I just said. Now let's put no, okay, and then let's put 1,000 again. Maybe we should put more than 1,000. What you can do, instead of reading some book on Monte Carlo simulation, if you want to see how many simulations to do, you just try it and see if you get the same answer. And then we can, if we summarize these, 767 without a sweep, 677. So it made quite a bit of difference. Since something's actually working for once, let's put 50 PCT. Oh, again, we, okay. We'll just put a 50% sweep. Okay. Why did I put 1,050 PCT sweep? And god damn, what an idiot. Okay. Okay, so this one had a default of 50, 76, and this one. Okay, so very good. And that's all I'm going to, so this is cast sweep and covenant analysis for Monte Carlo simulation. I haven't shown you where these things are on the disk because they're not on the disk yet. I mean on the disk, on the what the hell, the website, because uh, I'm going to put an extra little page and a little thing, a little picture for it. Okay? Maybe I have a tiny bit better opinion of Monte Carlo simulation right now. Not much, not much, because I knew this is one of the few times it's indeed useful. Okay? That's enough of the Monte Carlo simulation.